In the 1930s, the farmers in the Great Plains of the United States suffered incredible hardship. Severe dust storms ravaged the Great Plains and devastated the farmland, destroying the livelihoods of many families. But what caused these devastating dust storms? Where did they come from? And how could they cause so much misery for so many? Today, it's time to learn about the causes of the Great Dust Bowl. The first thing we must understand is the geography of the Great Plains. The Great Plains are an area of nearly 1.3 million square kilometers just to the east of the Rocky Mountains, stretching from the Rio Grande in the south all the way to Alberta, Canada in the north. The area is generally flat or gently sloping and consists of mainly short or medium-length grasslands with the distinct lack of trees and standing water such as rivers or lakes. The climate alternates between extended dry and extended wet periods. Despite the extended dry weather, the native grass survives due to its deep roots, able to access deep pockets of underground water. These roots also help bind the soil together and prevents it from being stripped away by wind erosion. As Europeans began to settle in what is now the United States, they regarded the Great Plains as the American desert, for its lack of timber and water made it unsuitable in their eyes for traditional farming methods, and so the plains remain plain. However, come the 1860s, people began to arrive in the Great Plains in large numbers. This was brought on by a number of factors. Number one, the Homestead Act of 1862. Under this act of Congress, the US government basically gave away 270 million acres of land to encourage people to move out and settle in the plains. Any citizen who had never taken up arms against the government could apply, and apply they did, escaping the crowded industrial cities for their own little slice of life on the frontier, constructing sod huts made from bricks of soil in place of log cabins, as there were no trees on the Great Plains. This act was further expanded upon in 1904 and 1909 to give even larger plots of land to new farmers. Reason number two, an increase in bad weather. Bad for you and me, good for farmers. The plains experienced an unusually long wet period in the 1860s and 1870s that was enough to convince the people and the US government that the climate of the region had changed permanently and thus was suitable for traditional European farming methods. The rain follows the plow, they said. If they farmed it, the rain would come. Number three, the change in farming type. Initially, farmers in the plains had been ranchers, but the harsh winters of the plains proved too much for cattle, with many dying off due to the cold. This prompted many farmers to switch over to crop cultivation. With the increase in rain, crop cultivation proved to be very successful on the plains and further encouraged more people to take up homesteads and head out west. As a result, the natural grassland of the plains was stripped away and the ground plowed, leaving the topsoil exposed and the region primed for disaster when severe droughts hit in the 1930s. Without the natural grass to bind it, the soils dried up and became loose. The prevailing winds stripped the loose soil away from the ground, whipping it into massive dust storms that spread across the plains, destroying more farmland as they went, burying farm equipment and houses. Destruction was widespread. The extent of the dust storms was so great that some even reached New York City and Washington, D.C. on the east coast of the USA. The US government acted quickly to combat the Dust Bowl, informing farmers of good dryland farming practices and soil conservation techniques, as well as constructing a massive shelter belt of around 200 million trees to disrupt the storms. This could not undo the damage already dealt by the Dust Bowl. Lives were destroyed, with many leaving the Great Plains for good, migrating to California in hope of a better life, but many only finding more hardship. The balance of nature is a very delicate one. The earth we use is also our home, and the effects of the Dust Bowl show that without proper understanding and care, it is very easy to tip the balance away from prosperity